So hey, Imani,
Hi.
how are you doing this morning?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you
I'm
for
so
having
excited
me.
to have you. Obviously, I've known you for a while, but for the audience who may not have met you yet, please introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Imani Shola. I am an absolute massive fan of Paula. First things first.
I'm a massive fan of you. Let's go with that. Okay.
Gotta get that out there. And I'm an author, many things, but the main thing you guys probably know me for is my music. So I'm a music artist, gospel artist, mainly R&B soul. Also just a massive nerd about music production. So I had a couple of releases this year working with Vivace, and we just had fun. But yeah, that's kind of the high level summary of who
And
I
we're
am.
going to dig deep. So we can
let's do
start
it.
high and
Yeah,
keep
we'll
going.
get into it. Yeah,
But you've had quite a musical journey just from childhood. Like you've actually mentioned that you are the daughter of a jazz saxophonist. I love a sax. We had a sax player in my wedding. I love that instrument. So what was it like just growing up in a musical household and like being brought up in that?
Oh man, it was such a blessing. So yeah, my dad is where I sort of got my musical talent from. Sorry, mum.
Your
but
mum's what you like.
Mum also says this too, so I feel like I can say this.
Okay.
We agree on this. She gave me lots of other great stuff, but he was like a sort of hobbyist. So as a hobby, he did music production. So in our house, right up until the age of sort of 6, 7, until we moved out, there was like a keyboard, a marimba, saxophones everywhere. He was just nerdy about music. We had a record player with like vinyls, and so I just grew up as this like 0 to 6-year-old. Just there was always music playing, jazz, soul, Aretha, Nina Simone, and then my dad playing sax and my mum singing along. But yeah, he also was into production, so he taught me the basics, which I think is where like my nerdiness about music production comes from. So I'm quite hands-on in the production process. So yeah, it was such a blessing. You would wake up hearing music, go to sleep hearing music.
Oh, I love that.
And I think just by osmosis, I learned a lot about music just growing up in that house.
That was such a smart statement, just by osmosis. I love it.
Truly, so true.
And in your Instagram bio, you say that it's a hobby, you enjoy writing and producing music. At what point from loving music, being around music as a child, till the point where you started wanting to actually release, what was that like push to make you do it?
It's a good question. I always had people say I should put my stuff out there. I think sometimes you doubt yourself and it's like, oh, I don't think my stuff's that good. You know, I like doing it at home. But I was actually in a church which was full of amazing, amazing music producers, you know, Imprint, and music artists and producers. And they had a record label, and I think they were just like, get your stuff out. So they showed me the ropes, and it was just like the perfect opportunity to work with talented people and get my stuff out there. And I think it's funny because a lot of my songs I actually wrote as a teenager. Ooh. So like Author of My Life, I wrote that on a random trip in Dorset, as you do, when I was like in my teens, like 15, 16.
Oh, wow.
And then I didn't release it. I think
For a while,
right? I think I did like a version of it on YouTube because I had a YouTube channel. And people seemed to like it, and people were like, oh, this is jazzy. And then I was like, okay. Then I was going to Imprint, and it was a great opportunity just to get it out there, and they made it sound really good. So it's been a process.
I actually forget that I met you on YouTube first. Yeah. I forget. Like, first of all, tell the people where you went to university.
Girl.
Tell the people.
I went to Cambridge.
She went to Cambridge. Sorry, she's a Cambridge grad. Yeah, first of all. So I actually remember watching you on YouTube before we ever even spoke digitally online and then met in person.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy how far.
Time has flown.
How far has come?
Yeah, YouTube was so good, wasn't it?
It was
such a good community.
It was pure, it was innocent. Like we just cared about stuff and we did stuff we liked and we didn't really care about how polished it was. Obviously, this podcast is real polished today.
Like, gorgeous.
It's beautiful today,
Yeah.
but back in those days, it was just like I had something to say and I would film it however way I could.
And even if it was just your mom watching, do you know what I mean? She was the 10 views that you get. It was like, listen, mum, you want to hear what I have to say?
I would watch my video every day and be like, oh my gosh, one more person's watched it. It was me. It was me on another device.
I would like my own videos. I was always the first like.
Oh, 100%. You have to pat yourself on the back. But you started from doing YouTube and like sharing your life, going through university, and then you started releasing music. And I think your whole audience were just like on it straight away. I was in that audience. Yeah. And we'll definitely go into each of the songs in a bit. But I just wanted you to kind of describe your style and your sound because it's quite unique to you. Yes, you say Christian R&B and soul, but like describe some of the like undertones and the things that actually influence the way you make music and you sound on a track.
I love that question.
Thank you.
I think, so I grew up listening to jazz and soul, so like Nina Simone, Aretha, like I mentioned, some of the greats, and I think that's sort of the basis of my music. So I'm definitely soul. But I love all types of music. I love sort of jazz, soul, but also, you know, classical. There's all sorts that sort of feeds in. I think my sound is probably most heavily influenced by like wanting to have a big range of pitch. So like Nina Simone's low vocals, but like Neo's highs. And then like I grew up listening to gospel music as well as jazz and soul. So Mary Mary, Darwin Hobbs, Kirk Franklin.
Hello.
He's like, them harmonies you hear in my music, that's credit to Kirk. He's
Not him literally though.
No. I just copied everything. I was listening as a kid and I was like writing notes. But yeah, I think wanting like a surround sound of harmonies, that's also a big element of my music. So that came from gospel and like Kirk and Mary Mary teaching me how to harmonize. But then there were other like random influences. So I went to like a little girls' school in North London, and we'd have like carol services every year in this beautiful big church, and they'd split the school into like each year group would sing a different harmony in a church. And so just being in that environment, you'd hear like a surround sound harmony feel, and that is something I try and emulate in my music. So it's random stuff like that I try and bring forward as well.
That makes so much sense now you're saying it, because one thing that's like a Imani Shola, like classic, if you will, is you're gonna get a layered vocal.
Oh, girl. Always.
You're gonna get a layered vocal. You're gonna get a harmony, and it's not gonna be like a 2-part, 3-part. It's 2-part, even a harmony. I don't know. 2-part, 3-part. Like you're getting her singing 5 parts on top of them each other. And you're just like, and if you listen with like AirPods or like what they called
Headphones,
there we go.
Yeah,
and you only have one ear in, you're gonna miss some.
Yeah, you will. Some of them are just on the left.
Some are just on the left.
Get them both. Don't discriminate.
You know when the real artists, they like split them and some of them comes out here.
Honestly.
Yeah, that's definitely a classic. That makes complete sense, because I can imagine you recording that way and like being transported back to when you were a child
100%.
With loads of other kids singing.
Yeah.
So that's really beautiful to know. Is there a general kind of songwriting process you go through, or even a production process? Because you're even though this girl's a vocalist, you lean very much on the sonic and musicality of your songs as well. Yeah. So is there like a standard process for you?
Oh man, I don't think there's one standard process. It's really interesting. Sometimes I get songs overnight, they come to me. So like the EP that I released last year, a lot of those songs came to me overnight, which sounds really weird, but I'd wake up with a tune and have to like voice note myself in like a croaky voice to get it down. Sometimes it's the chorus, sometimes it's the verse that comes. Other times I'll just be inspired by maybe some harmonies that I've heard, and then a chorus will come to me, and then we'll build out the verse. I remember with Gold, which I worked on with Dwayne Caleb, the absolute legend. He produced that for me. That was a song where I just had the chorus for ages stuck in my head. I would say for like a decade, because it really is.
Wow.
Yeah, I've got like a really auditory mind. So like as a teen, I had like the sort of chorus going through. And I just sort of remember my demo for that song was just a short snippet of the chorus. I sent it to Dwayne and just said, just make a track out of it. Yeah. He did, and most of that song is just spontaneous. So Dwayne did his production magic, and then I just vibed over it. And that was the same for some of the songs with Vachi. So it really depends, and that's why I think it's such a spiritual thing, because the songs come from God. They do not, no credit to me at all. The songs come from God. So yeah, it depends.
I love that.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, it makes sense to jump into the actual music, and you have had so as we're recording, this is September 2024. Yeah. You ever had a great 2024?
Oh,
okay. Imani Shola took a little break, and she came back and she said, "I got stuff for you guys. You're gonna be fed, and you're gonna be fed well." And we've had a really good year for you. Like, there's been a lot of singles, and they've been really, really good. And you've pushed them and marketed them. And so I didn't really have to struggle to find things to talk about. I really didn't. I did not. And I think, okay, it makes sense to start with your most recent single at the time of filming, which is Easy.
Yeah.
So tell us about this song, what it was like writing it, putting it together, working with Vivace, and the whole process.
Man, Easy is so close to my heart. Okay. That song is.
Do you think it's because it's the most recent?
I think it might be, but also because like the first half of it is 80s soul. So for those that don't know, Easy is this really weird, like genius credit to Vivace mix of 80s soul at the start and like Afrofusion-y kind of vibes at the end, which I never would have thought to put together, but yeah, credits to him. And I think it's close to my heart because that's what I grew up listening to as a kid. 80s soul, like Shaka Khan, Cheryl Lynn, Back to Life, them ones. And that's the first half of the song. And so the process, I mean, the song kind of came to me, but I knew I wanted an 80s soul vibe, but Vivace really brought it to life, as he always does. The second half of the song was also him. So I sent him my demo. The first and second half sounded exactly the same, 80s soul. And then just during the production process, he sends it back to me, and the second half is like a different genre. And I was like,
Is this my song?
This was right. I was like, but it sounds good. Like we gonna go with it. And that's part of the part of the process that I love working with Vivace on. And it was this Afro fusion with like log drums and like shakers, and it had some sort of Amapiano vibes in it. It's not Amapiano, but it's got some vibes. And I was like, let's do it. So the process was, I had my demo, had some 80s soul ideas, sent it to Vivace. He did his creative magic, and we just vibed from there.
So it was really a collaboration.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah.
And what did you learn from that process? Because I know you've worked with other producers before, but you've done a couple songs now with Vivace, right?
Yeah.
Was this one a little bit easier to like let him do his thing because you've seen him do something before and it was great?
Yeah.
Or was it still like, oh, this is my baby, what are you doing changing the genres?
Good question. You know, I think I choose producers who I trust. And I'd seen his work already, and I was just like, as an artist, you really have to choose producers who, because it is your baby, but it's also not.
Yeah.
It's also theirs. And then once it's out in the world, it's actually, I kind of feel like it's not yours. So I was just like, I learned that I knew that I thought I could trust him. I felt I could trust him, and it proved me right. You know, give him that creative license and go with the flow. I also think I learned, like, across all three songs, how much having the right producer, and this sort of goes for all the producers I've worked with, but having the right producer can like just open you up as an artist to new ideas. I've never done Afrofusion ever. Like, I'm Caribbean. I don't know. I actually can't dance. I can't dance, right?
Sorry, how are you dancing to Easy then? How are you?
I do the two-step. If you look close, it's just the jazzed up two-step. And I can do the electric slide.
And then move arms.
Yeah, and a bit of arm movement, you know. But he made it so that I felt like I could just flow over it, you know? And then I was like, okay, I got my inner like Nigerian or
No, we claim you, we claim you. Yeah.
So it taught me that, the right producer will give you his ideas or her ideas, and you'll be able to bounce and just vibe together. And it was great.
It's a collaboration, like a give and take, and you have to be willing to take and also give. So I love that. The song before that, which I think is one of my favorite songs by you sonically, just like the actual like instrumentation, there we go. It sounds to me just like something I've never heard before, but something I just enjoy. Soft Maverick.
Yeah.
So tell us about this song, even the name, even how that came to be, and how you put it out for the world to see.
The name is an interesting one because we didn't actually have a name until just before it was released. I think I had like Slow something was the title, and like
because the song doesn't say Soft Maverick in it.
It does say. This is the thing. People are like, "Where'd you get the title from?" So, and this is why, you know, you asked earlier about the process. Like, do I have a standard process?
Yeah.
It is so different. Like Gold, I knew from time ago it was going to be called Gold. Author of my life, it's in the lyrics. Soft Maverick, you're like, what? This must be divine.
I was reading on Spotify like the lyrics. I was like,
can't find it.
Next line.
It's not there. So that was a good example of where the song was done, pretty much. We'd finished it, and I was like, I'm not feeling this sort of temporary title that I've got on it. How does it make me feel? And what's like the overall message of the song? And I kind of got this vibe of someone that maybe has been on a bit of a journey, like an evolution journey or self-love journey or something like that, who maybe doesn't always feel like they fit in, but has learned a lot of lessons and has very kind values, and maybe has learned some stuff around that. And so I was like, Maverick is sort of someone that doesn't necessarily fit in, but soft, you know, we're all talking about soft life, you know, it's kind of like, it's in a good way. So that's where the title came from. The song, I think I had the beat. So one part of song making that is more consistent than not for me is I tend to have a bass line in my head.
Okay.
So Author of my life, you'll hear the bass line, it's quite prominent.
Is that like in your head as in you can hear it, or you've got a beat?
In my head, I can hear it. Yeah,
okay.
It's real weird. I just have bass
No,
lines
I'm impressed. I'm like,
floating around.
Teach me.
And that's from my dad, right? Playing groovy music as a kid, so I just have bass lines like floating around. So I had the bass line, and I like table drummed along to the bass line in my demo. So I had that idea. And then I think I sent that to Vivace, just the demo. Don't really think I had the lyrics fleshed out. And then he sent back a track, and we just flowed very spontaneously, right? So I sort of did the verse and the harmonies. But again, the second half was spontaneous. So we had this idea that I'd put together, we were kind of going somewhere, and then Vivace sent back another version with the second half slightly different, more airy. And I just flowed on it and built the harmonies. And so that whole second half, which I think people love about Soft Maverick, I just wanted to like edify people and affirm people and have like a minute and a half of just speaking life over people. And Vivace sort of gave me that space to do that. So it was a real team effort, definitely.
Yeah, almost like an interlude kind of vibe.
Yeah. And shout out to Julius who mastered it because he's amazing and he's dope.
Yeah, and you've worked with him in mixed mastering quite a lot.
Pretty much all
Listen,
my songs.
I was in your Spotify notes. See, one thing about me, I'm going to be in the credits.
Come on.
You see the credits? I'm going to be like, who made this work? Or cover art.
He's
I
so
love
good.
it.
He's so good.
No, that's really good. And then, of course, Still On You. Mm-hmm. So this is actually a neo-soul rework of one of your previous songs from the EP the year before, in 2023, which was On You. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of like a nod towards Imani of the year before, but reimagined. What was it about this song that you didn't want to let it go? And why is this almost its own standalone song still?
Man, God, these questions are good. I'm so happy to be.
Sit comfy, be comfy, be comfy.
I love it. So On You, when I wrote On You, I had like the initial 2023 version, I had like 2 musical directions I could go in. And I wasn't sure, like right up until the last minute. I was working with Jake, shout out to Jake, he's an amazing producer on it. And I wasn't sure what direction to go in. One was neo soul, which is what you hear now. And one was like Latin inspired, you know, kind of samba sort of. So we went with the samba version, which I love, which was quite challenging to sing because it's slightly the top of my range and it pushed me, which was fun and quite fast paced. But this version was still clinging on and it wanted life for like a whole year. Honestly, it was like, please. I could hear it in my head. So I was like, we got to give this thing breath and air. And, you know, that's a part of being an artist is you're a channel for what God gives you, especially a Christian artist. God gives you the ideas and you got to get them out before you leave, right? So that's, I think Dave says something. Dave's got a quote about that.
Yeah,
like,
he
you
does.
got treasure in your chest, get it out before you leave. Shout out to Dave.
That's literally the lyric.
Dave, do you know what I mean? So yeah, credits to him. And yeah, so I think I had that other idea and I was like, it's got to come out and it sounds really nice. And it might speak to an audience that likes a different genre, but we can still get the same message across. So again, my table drumming demo, I can't drum y'all, but I send my stuff to my producers and they seem to get it.
They're like, yeah, clicks.
They're such good producers. Oh, they're so good. Vivace sent it back to me and it just sounded so good. And you can literally hear me just vibing over the beat. Like that's the whole of the first half is just introduction and it's just instrumental, Vivace doing his thing and me just vibing. And so, yeah, so that's long story short. I wanted to get the same message out in a different way and give this song life because, like, that's my assignment.
Yeah, and there's definitely more to come of that assignment. That's really beautiful. And even just on that nod to On You from the previous EP, we definitely have to talk about what is it?
Mapmaking.
Mapmaking Volume 1, which came out in 2023. And that was 4 songs. It was a lot of just beautiful experimentation with sounds. I would love for you to talk about, that was the first like body of work. So talking about like, from releasing singles, you had like Author of My Life and Gold and all these other singles, you've now put together songs that are supposed to be coherent together. What was the process of doing that like?
Do you know, that was really fun because you get to tell a story over like a bit more of an arc. You get a bit more space across several songs. It's an EP, so not loads, but a couple. It was a really great process. I mean, these were all songs that came to me overnight, which was really weird. But again, you wake up with a tune in your head and you're just like, I got to record this because in the morning, I'm not going to remember. So that's why I think it's really from God, right? And I just remember the sort of core theme of the EP is like emotional wellness, healing, which is something I'm really big on, like mental wellness, emotional wellness. Like I've done other stuff around it and I was like, right, musically, we've got to get this out. And so all the songs sort of have that central theme in some way. So like So Long is sort of about heartbreak and loss, and that's actually to do with family, but it could help with like relationships and stuff. And On You is about like healing. It's, you know, healing looks good on you, some of the lyrics. So they all have that theme, but the genres are all different. So like Holy, the first song is very much, people are like, it sounds like The Lion King, something from The Lion King. And that's what I wanted, right? So Long is like Adele vibes, like sort
Giving
of
ballad.
Soft pop, exactly, ballad. And then you've got like lo-fi in some of the songs. So I think it was really experimentational.
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Of the genres.
Something like that,
yeah.
But holding it together with the central theme. And Jake just made it beautiful, so.
And so it's called Volume 1. Is there a Volume 2? Are you planning to do another body of work?
I hope so. And absolutely, I'm glad you mentioned that, because map making is I'd see myself as a map maker. So that's where I sort of get that from. So hopefully I'll still be map making and there'll be more to come. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. Yeah. No, I'm excited because we've got loads of singles from you, but I'd love to see, I mean, it's not always easy, but a body of work, like an album,
it's coming.
Another EP, you know,
but
those take time.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, like, you've been releasing music for a while, and like I know you took a little bit of a break. It wasn't that long, but a little bit of a break. But you've been releasing singles for a long time. What is the central theme that like lines all those singles together? We obviously have the EP, which has that story, but which probably feeds into the same theme. But what is that underlining thread that goes through all of those songs?
Yeah, all the singles that I've released so far.
Yes. Especially this year.
I would say it's wanting to encourage people. I don't take it lightly that when you listen to my music, you're giving me 3 minutes of your time to like minister directly in your ears, like literally blocking out everything else and listening. That's a huge privilege. So I think with each song, I'm very much like, how can I edify this listener in these 3 minutes that I got? Because when they take these headphones out, it might be an annoying boss, it might be a train running late. How do I edify? So I think the songs are all about wanting to encourage and edify and affirm. And like especially when I've gone through things, like try and share some insight or little wisdom that I might have picked up. So you'll hear a lot of the songs very caring, is what I hope you get across from them. And I think that's my USP. Yeah, like Cleo Soul is kind of like that. She's very affirmative. So I'm like, I see myself as like the gospel Cleo Soul, but much smaller scale.
No, for now.
Yeah.
So you've always been quite intentional with your music, like with the lyrics, with the actual sounds, but also with like the cover art. And this is something I actually noticed years ago, but you only had a few singles out. So I was like, it's a coincidence. There's like 3 of them, so it's fine. But you've got quite a few tracks out now, and they all have the same cover art style by a super talented artist. I'd love for you to speak about just that intentional choice artistically.
Kieran Booth, he's the artist and he's so talented.
Good.
I came across, I think he'd done a project called The Lucy's, which our mutual friend Aaron told me about ages ago. And I saw his artwork on it, and he's also a musician.
He's also an artist, I went to go on his Instagram.
Yeah. So good. And I just really liked the fact that it's sort of, I say cartoon, it's not cartoon, but you know what I mean, it's not a photo, it's
like
art.
Animated,
that's it. Because I'm an introvert, so I kind of feel like it's nice to be able to have the real me sort of hidden from view, and let the music have a version of me that's like, hey, a human is behind this, but I don't have to put myself out there, not distract by what I'm wearing or what I look like. So I found Kieran's artwork let me do that, but also he's just so talented. He's so talented and he's so versatile. And what I think I began to discover as I kept working with him, because I just love working with him, which is why he's like all over my Spotify, is that you get to see sort of the evolution of his artwork too. So if you look at his art on like my first like Author of My Life Gold, his style has changed to like this year's art cover art. It's like he's changed how he does things, like the color and the shading, I don't know, not technical. But I love that progression because I think it shows sort of the evolution of my music in a way. So I'm happy just to be a gallery for Kieran.
No, it works so well as well because obviously as Black women, like we change hair, we look a certain way, and I think to be able to animate in a way that still keeps your Black features, like it shows your hair changes in different singles. Like I know when you have like the brown hair, I know when you have your short pixie, like I know based on the cover art because each of them are you. And it's interesting that you say like it's a little bit, it's interesting you say that it's a little bit like removed from you because you're right, like you're able to still kind of do your thing. And obviously people can follow you on Instagram, know what you look like. But if you only knew you by music, their image of you is that animation. And that's incredible because it's still you, but it's you enough without them to not be too 100%. In there.
Yeah.
So that was a really intentional choice. Do you think that first single you did that, you were like, this is going to be my thing? Like, or it's just a happy accident or coincidence?
Do you know, I don't think I thought about it that much. I knew that I wanted Kieran to do the art because I'd seen what he could do in the Lucy's, but I don't think I knew then that all my music is good. And that's the plan, Kieran.
Is that continually?
Like for life, just so you know you're locked in with me. But yeah, I didn't have that in mind. But then as I saw his art evolving. Can't speak today, evolving. I just was like, yeah, let's just keep it going.
No, great. I love that. I love the intentionality, and I love when artists have like their thing.
Oh yeah.
Like if it's like all lowercase, like David creates, or if it's like all black and white imagery or whatever it is. Like I love when artists kind of like own a thing, and yours feels effortless as well. Like you could still be super diverse and do all the different things you want to do, but the cover art having that similar style still kind of unifies it on your Spotify. Like your Spotify makes sense. It's not chaotic. It's not like confusing. This is you, you know? I love that. I'm such a like nerd for these things.
I think it's so much like, if I just say, I think that's so much of being an artist is like you sort of stumble across something that works and you resonate with it. And it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? If it's really good. So whether it's giving Vivace the space to do his thing and he comes back and sends it back to me and it's different and then we just flow with it almost accidentally, or it's Kieran just great at what he does. I hire him to do my cover art for one song and then I see the evolution. It's like, let's just roll with it. So there's so much of it just rolling with what works.
Yeah, and being willing to do that.
Yeah.
That's so good. Even just continuing on the vein of music as real life, your music is real life. Like you write a lot from very vulnerable, deeply spiritual places. We're going to go into some of the topics that I've definitely asked permission to speak about. Just want to get that on camera.
We go in there.
But also, we're going to I just wanted to ask you like how you get to a place where you feel comfortable enough to share these vulnerable parts of your heart and your life, or also just stories that are quite vulnerable.
Thanks for asking that. I think I'm quite an open person. In general, that's my personality. It's probably oversharing sometimes, but I think that's where YouTube sort of came from too, was wanting to share. When I mentioned earlier about being a map maker, I sort of see that as I go through stuff, and my job, I think I'm only like in my 20s, so I'm probably still honing this mission, but it's to like chart down what I've learned to help other people navigate the same things, like making a map. And so part of that is being quite open and vulnerable. I was raised like my mum's really open, my dad's really open, so that's just how I am anyway. And music is nice because it's a way to channel that and get the messages out whilst also still being a little bit protected and hidden. Like you can talk in metaphors, you can talk in imagery, you can let the instrumental talk for you, and people will resonate and get the message without you necessarily imposing yourself onto it. So I think I was always sort of doing that, and that's what I do naturally, like in friendship and stuff, is give advice. But then it was as I was listening to other artists like Cleo Soul and like obviously gospel music in general, just getting that permission almost to be affirmative and see this is a genre where actually people really love having that in their ears, and that's a real space that I can occupy in the music industry, is that affirmative space. So I think I sort of did it naturally, and then sort of got permission from some of the great artists out there to keep doing it.
That's a really beautiful way of describing it. And I think it definitely comes across. And then also having you on socials adds to that, because I think you tell the stories in like plainer English as to what's in the song. And I believe this was for Soft Maverick, but I might be wrong, where you shared a bit about you're previously engaged, you're no longer engaged. And feel free to say as little or as much as you would like, but what did that journey teach you? And what of it did you bring into the music?
I think the lessons from the engagement were, I probably need to slow down. There's so much that I learned. Take time, trust God, trust the process. And also I think just the importance of having aligned values. These are things that we know, like it sounds so obvious, but I think actually that, you know, people aren't bad or good. Like people are a mix of things that work with each other and don't. And it's just finding your fit. And I think with Soft Maverick, I learned that there are certain things that I want in a relationship or certain values I have that, hey, I just need to find someone that aligns with that, and other people likewise, right? I think in terms of putting that into the song, I really wanted to make sure it was coming from a healed place. Like that is so important to me. And this is something I've learned being a sharer is that, and I think we learned this on YouTube a bit too, is share when you're healed. It's hard because sometimes it's helpful to share when you're healing, but for me, I think there's wisdom in sharing when you're sort of over it, and you can share from more of an objective place when you've sort of caught the lessons, and you've never arrived, but I think Soft Maverick was my version of just, if I could sum up some of the lessons I learned from that really, it was a hard season. If I can sum it up in a way that helps other people, then that's what I wanted to do with Soft Maverick. So yeah, hopefully people sort of are able to relate to it, and whether it's a relationship or other things, Hopefully it resonates. But yeah, it was a very healing process for me. And the sound of the song is meant to be quite soothing, quite healing. Some of the sort of tones and sort of the vocals in it. Vivace and I were really intentional about making it feel spacious and like you can just breathe. Like especially in sort of, there's a part where I'm just singing "whoa" like 4 times.
Whoa times 4.
Literally times 4. So yeah, it was a really cathartic process. But it's like my most successful song.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
That makes sense though. And to be honest, even just you talking about it, I flash back to us in our early 20s.
Yeah,
we met up and we had a deep conversation, which we won't go into. That was past Paula and Imani. Yes. Even that conversation, we talked a lot about the stuff that we hadn't healed from in going into relationships. Yeah. And it's so interesting to hear you say now, like releasing content or music or creation or art from a healed place. Because when we were talking, we were not healed at all. Like we were in the crux. We were in the trenches. In the trenches. Imani actually invited me to church.
Come on. Which is West? Sorry.
Which is where I met my husband.
I'm a matchmaker, y'all. I can't seem to get it right for myself, but I can match you up with some fine.
She actually, well, look, no jokes. But yeah, Imani was like, come to church. You'll meet a man.
Yeah.
That's not why I went.
Shout out to Dave.
Shout out to my husband. But I did meet him on the first day I went. Yeah. And the thing is, the date we put in was the date I met him.
Come on, look at God.
The date Imani and I put in the calendar was the date I met him. So listen to your friends, first of all.
Yes.
But that's all just to say, like, I remember us early 20s having these conversations and we were in the middle of it. That wouldn't have been a healed place to release musical content around it. Mm-hmm. But years later, when you have healed from it and you've been able to get the lessons and also see where you could help someone else not be in the same situation as you, that's a healthier place. And so it's an encouragement and a blessing for me as someone who was there back then, with you, in the trenches, till now, to be like, wow, we healed, we got better. Yeah. Like we didn't think we'd make it, but we're here. Like God is very good. So I'm really glad you touched on that. And even going into another song that is one of my favorite songs, I think this is my favorite song made by you, Real Love. I think because the harmonies and the layering of your vocals is just incredible. But you talk about the real love of God as like the one. But it's also very much, I think it can be used as like a romantic song as well. I would love for you to talk about that like relationship with the Lord and how that inspired that beautiful song.
He's so good, man.
He's so good.
He's like my best friend.
Great.
Best for ride or die. Do you know what I mean? And he
but
actually died for me. You know what I mean? He actually died for me. So get you one of those. But
he's free.
He's so free. He's so good. Highly recommend. Me and God have been like tight since I was about 6. So my parents split when I was 6 and my mum started going to church as part of that quite often. And so I sort of got to know God through Sunday school and the great food at church as a 6-year-old was why I went, but started getting to know God at that point. And we all go through stuff and I've been through my share of stuff and through each season, God has been the constant. So whatever I'm going through, I've turned to him from age 6. So it feels like my music is a very natural response to his love. And Real Love was also written when I was in my teens. I think there's actually a YouTube video, where I'm singing it on YouTube and then released it like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I think actually. So yeah, I think it was a very natural outpouring of just how good his love is, how pure it is. You know, it sort of talks about he comforts me when I'm down, it surrounds me. Which again, like I try and get that surround sound vocal to like demonstrate how his love surrounds you, right? So that kind of stuff. He's just so faithful. And I think that was me still experimenting because that's one of my earlier releases.
Yes, it is, yeah. I
was still like experimenting with my sound and figuring it out with the people around me. But yeah, that's sort of what Real Love is about. Yeah,
it's such a beautiful song. You've done bits over the years, you have, and I'm so excited because there is more to come. Like it still feels like you're new on the scene, even though it's been a number of years. But outside of music, like music being one of your passions, what are some of the things that you love and that you give yourself and your time to?
Oh man, I was gonna say fitness, but I think I've done like one workout this year.
Imani, we're in September. And you
know what's wild? I think I started the workout, but I don't think I finished it. So I've started a workout this year. Anyway, fitness is still a hobby. It's been a bit neglected this year. So I love running. I love the freedom. I feel really close to God when I'm running. But I also love eating, traveling, and writing. I've got a couple of books.
Yes, you do.
I've written a couple books.
Talk about them a bit.
So the books, yeah. The first one I wrote when I was in uni. It's called Heart, Charles and Lip Balm. It's a collection of affirmative notes. So that affirmation piece, again, that encouragement piece. That was like notes to self that I'd written like over like 11 months and was like, oh, maybe I should share some of these. Like, I don't know who's going to read them. Might be my mum, same person that likes all my videos on YouTube. But I'll put it out there. And I was just like, that map-making piece, I got to share what I know. Don't know much, but let me share what I know. And it helped a couple people. The next book was 2017, July.
That was early, yeah.
That was early. I was a baby.
We were in uni still.
We were babies.
Yeah.
I look back now, I'm like, I'm old, man. I'm grown. And then the second book was called Messy Loving. That was after my first breakup. And that was, again, the little that I learned, the new from there. I was like, let me just share what I've learned. And that went out. So yeah, writing. You'll always find me eating somewhere. We've been out to eat. We went for pancakes. So
Oh,
good.
that was so good. Yeah.
That's me. Yeah.
I love that. You're quite a rounded person. It's not that just music is bad, but it's not just music. Like careers, like there's just so many elements to you. And I wanted to do something a little bit different this season. So we have our final SheHH question, which is always on legacy. Gonna keep that because I love hearing what people value as legacy. But before that, we have a random fun question.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Every episode, this will hopefully change. But for you, I've selected what song or musical arrangement, this could be vocals as well, do you love and do you wish you had created?
Oh, this is hard.
It's hard, and you didn't even get a chance to like think about it. It's almost like the first thing on your mind, like first song or the first arrangement you love. It can even be like a musical show or something where...
There's a few, but I've got like two that are like fighting in my head, but I'll do. Do you mind? Okay, I feel like I'm breaking the rules. The first one is Neo, and then Life Was Beautiful. Ooh. The end. Those harmonies. I mean, Neo is like, I'm a massive fan of her anyway, but like
this
that
just
was
before the
different.
spoken word piece, right?
This is what, she does all these layering. It's a cappella. It's beautiful. That for me is that surround sound piece, which just, for me, I really feel God in that, and I try and get that in my music. And then I'd probably say a Kirk Franklin song. It's gonna be it's either gonna be Hosanna.
Okay.
You know Hosanna.
Of course.
Or like Hello Fear or I Am.
Ooh,
like some of those songs, they're really his layers, his vocals. Yeah. So I feel like I said like 4 there, sorry. But
that works.
That kind of stuff is
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we are gonna ask about legacy. What is something that when it's your time to go, by the grace of God, hopefully not anytime soon, by the grace of God, but like it's your time to go and you're going to look back and pray and hope that this is what people remember you for?
Mm-hmm. I think about legacy a lot. It drives a lot of what I do. I think I just want people to, I think kindness comes to mind. I want people that knew me in person to feel like I was kind to them, and the listeners of my music, the readers of my books, to just see what I've done as just an act of kindness in a way that, like, God's shown me kindness, I'm showing his kindness. Go be kind to other people. Mm-hmm. I think that's it.
That is beautiful. And that does make sense. As someone who actually knows you, like, it warrants a lot of your behavior and the way you do things, the way that you're very mindful of how you speak to people and about people or checking in with people. Yeah, it's really beautiful. And it's actually a real privilege to be your friend. And I'm really glad you're on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
I am really glad that people got an insight into you, into your music, and will be able to see you grow over the years to come. But yes, thank you so much for being on the SheHH podcast. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye. Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the SheHH podcast. If you did, please leave a like rating, comment down below, and share this episode with a friend. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at SheHH Podcast.